I will immediately go on record to state that this challenge is indeed a meme and should not be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form. That doesn't mean that it was easy, however. So let's just get down to brass tacks. Can you beat Oblivion as a dirty hoe? What does this even mean? Well, I got this idea after I watched a Camelworks video featuring 10 of the most unique hidden items in Oblivion, and as it turns out, there is a very funny weapon known only as a hoe in the game. This weapon is a two-handed blunt weapon and does minimal damage, but it has a hidden talent as well. Now, I might be a little off, but the gist of it is that the hoe has a 100% chance to inflict one of 7 diseases on hit. It also has a chance to pass the disease Tickle Britch onto me when I use it. So, let's go over the rules. 1. I can only use the hoe to attack enemies, and I cannot enchant the hoe, though I can enchant my armor. I also specifically gave myself every single disease that the hoe can inflict on someone right at the start of the game. I cannot cure any of these diseases, and if I get any new diseases while I'm playing, I cannot cure them either. 2. I level up whenever I get the chance to keep the game's difficulty moving up. It's also set to normal this time. Ready? Let's go. Right off the bat, I'm already screwing things up, as I lost my recording where I made my character. Of course, we can still view him, so here he is. His name is Joe the Hoe, and he makes me laugh every time I see him. The original idea was that I would give myself every disease in the game, but if your endurance hits 0, you immediately die. So I just gave myself the proper diseases, spawned in the hoe since this is more of a meme run and less of a challenge, and waited for the Emperor. I won't waste too much time here, as we've all seen the Oblivion tutorial way too many times. I will note that the rats didn't die in one hit, and that was already a bad sign. After I trekked through the area a bit more, I ran into the Emperor and got to choose my sign. I went with the warrior sign to increase my strength and endurance by 10 points, and continued with the Emperor until he gave me the Amulet of Kings, which I was to take to Joffrey at Waynham Priory, who could help me find his illegitimate son. Then the Emperor got assassinated, which, let's be honest, could have been very easily avoided if he wasn't smiling at me like a creep. After that, I made my class, which consisted of combat as my specialization, strength and endurance as my favorite attributes, and acrobatics, armor, athletics, block, blunt, heavy armor, and speechcraft as my major skills. The speechcraft was specifically chosen since my personality was very low from all of my diseases, which would make people dislike me. I named this class Dirty Hoe. Now that my character is fully made, let's look at my attributes. They're really bad, and the only ones that actually get any better are strength, speed, endurance, and agility. I proceed through to the sewers, fighting rats and goblins, and getting bombarded by my DLC messages. When I eventually made it out, I proceeded to the Imperial City Market District so I can sell some of my stuff I have and get as much equipment as I could buy. Once I was ready, this is what I looked like, and I had 18 gold left to my name. I left the Imperial City and started for Coral, which was where Waynham Priory was closest to, but I stopped to help an old man get some slaughterfish scales, since I'm not above slapping fish with a nasty hoe. I also gave some crabs. Once I collected all of the scales, I returned to the old man and he rewarded me with the Jewel of the Rumere, which fortified my athletics a bit and would let me breathe underwater. Not the most useful thing, but I would wear it until I came across something better. I also leveled up to 2 and put my points into strength, speed, and agility. God, I love that stupid disease-riddled face. The rest of my journey to the Priory was simple, only being stopped by the occasional wolf or highwayman. Joffrey was not eager to believe me when I told him why the Emperor gave me the amulet. I can't imagine why, as my face screams, I make nothing but good decisions. But he told me the location of the Emperor's son regardless. He was located in Kvatch, where he was working as a priest to Akatosh. I was also able to jack some equipment from Joffrey before I made my leave. Instead of heading straight to Kvatch, I decided to walk to Shadenhall so I could try to level up a bit. On the way there, I found what might be the prettiest spot in all of Cyrodiil, and went to a dungeon looking for loot. Sadly, this dungeon was home to vampires, and that was a big no-no. If I caught the vampire disease without realizing it, I would be stuck like that, which was not what I wanted. I eventually ended up at Shadenhall without any loot, and decided that there was a fairly easy way to make money in the city. I could join the Dark Brotherhood and kill a few people with the power of disease. With a new goal in mind, I fast-traveled back to the old man I helped collect scales for, and entered his house in the middle of the night. I then proceeded to whack the absolute crap out of him with my hoe until he died. Sadly, I could not sleep in his still warm bed like the weirdo I am, but there was an inn right next door for me to catch some sleep while I waited for Lucien LeChance to show up. He did, of course, and invited me to join the Brotherhood, probably hoping to use me as a walking biological weapon. All I had to do was kill Rufio, an old man located at the Inn of Ilomen, in any manner that I deemed fit, and I was allowed to join. I made my way to the inn, giving more crabs along the way, and arrived with a positively filthy bloodlust. Rufio only took 1 hit to kill, and I tried to drag him over to his bed and throw him in it, but for an old dead frail man, he sure was heavy. I eventually gave up and passed out in his bed so Mr. LeChance would spawn in and welcome me into the family with open arms. From there, I proceeded back to Shadenhall, unlocked the abandoned house door, gave the evil magic door the passcode, and was given some armor that was nearly useless to me. What a handsome man. Too bad he has every STD known to man. It was now time to do some quests for my fellow Brotherhood. I won't cover these too deeply as they aren't the main portion of the challenge, so let's do a quick rundown of them. The first quest was for me to assassinate the captain of a pirate ship in the Imperial City waterfront. I snuck aboard via hiding in a crate and being hauled on, and the rest was, as they say, history. I returned to Vicente, got my gold, and the black band, which would be a helpful accessory for a while, and started my next assassination. I was to kill Balin, an old fellow who lived in Bruma, by dropping a giant stuffed minotaur head on him while he sat in his favorite chair. On the way to Bruma, I ran into the Thief Stone, which gave me a major power that could come in handy at some point. When I made it to Bruma, I entered Balin's basement, took off my armor so I was a little more quiet, and went to the upstairs room to unfasten the bindings holding the minotaur head up, and like that, I was done. Back to Vicente, and I was rewarded more gold and a dagger that I couldn't use. With that, it was time to go back to the main quest. I needed to head to Kvatch and find Martin, and I was going to take the long way by walking instead of fast traveling so I could get some levels. I didn't run into much until I hit the borders of Skingrad, where I found a bunch of goblins. They were not too happy to see me, to say the least, but as everyone knows, hoes prevail over everything, with the sole exception being bros. I was able to level up now and stopped at an inn located in Skingrad. The rest of the way to Kvatch was littered with bandits, and when I was nearly at Kvatch, I had a race with this NPC who initiates dialogue with you when you enter the Kvatch camp. I'm not sure how that works, but okay. When I arrived, I immediately noticed that something was direly wrong. I'm not sure if it was the red skies or the giant glowing portal overflowing with Daedra. Either or, I entered the fray and helped the town guard drive back some of the Daedra, and talked to Salvely and Mattius. Mattius informed me that what I was looking at was an Oblivion gate, and that before we could enter the ruins of Kvatch and save some civilians from the cathedral, we would need to close it, and by we, he meant me. So I brandished my hoe and entered the plains of Oblivion. The plains were dotted with low-level Daedra like stunted scamps. They were quite easy to kill, and all in all, this would end up being the easiest plane of Oblivion I had to go into. It's all downhill from here, though. After I thwapped a good number of Daedra with my hoe, wrecking many a demon's marriage in the process, I arrived at the main tower which held the Sigil Stone. The tower was guarded by Dramora, who weren't too much harder to kill than the scamps. To actually make it to the Sigil room, I had to kill the Sigil Keeper to get the key. After that, I entered the main chamber, ran around, and grabbed the Sigil Stone to close the gate. Then it was back to the Kvatch camp, where I went to bed, leveled up, and rejoined Salvlian in retaking the main square. I let the guards do most of the work, and when the Daedra lay dead, I could enter the chapel and talk to Martin. Now, Martin did not immediately believe this rank stranger who proclaimed him to be the Emperor's son, and I can't possibly imagine why. Eventually, he agreed to come to Wayne Priory with me and talk to Brother Joffrey. When we arrived at the Priory, it was under attack by the Mythic Dawn cult, the same people who killed Emperor Uriel Septim. Martin and I fought our way to the chapel to help Joffrey fend off the rest of them. Sadly, the Mythic Dawn were here to steal the Amulet of Kings, and they had succeeded. The good news is that we had Martin, and if we could get the Amulet of Kings back, we could light the Dragonfires and close the gap between the Plains of Oblivion and Tamriel. But that would not be an easy feat. Firstly, we would have to get Martin to Cloud Ruler Temple, where the Blades would be able to keep a close eye on him and protect him until it was time to light the fires. On the way to Cloud Ruler Temple, I was attacked by some wolves and nothing else, and when we arrived, I got to hear Martin give a fantastic speech while I looked down at everyone with my puckered, lemon-eating expression. After this, Joffrey offered me a place in the Blades. I accepted, and my next task was to find Boris waiting for me at the Imperial City, as he had some information on the Mythic Dawn. Tracking down Boris wasn't the problem here. The problem is that I knew Boris was going to die if I didn't do something to help him, so I needed to fix this. How did I fix this, you ask? By force equipping Daedric armor on Boris. Problem solved. For now. Once my boy Boris was kitted out, I talked to him and he told me to not make any sudden moves, but to follow him into the basement after the guy in the corner followed him into the basement. I did as he asked, and lo and behold, the guy was a Mythic Dawn agent. We murked him, and Boris and I had a fantastic discussion in which he told me to seek out Tarmina at the Arcane University for more insight into the Mythic Dawn cult. I decided to put this quest on hold for now and return to the Dark Brotherhood for my next assassination contract. Vicente told me that my next contract was located in the Imperial City Prison, and it was none other than Valen Dreth, the douchebag who likes to yell at you during the tutorial. I accepted the contract with glee and was told that I would get a bonus if I didn't kill any of the guards inside of the prison. Thankfully, it didn't say that I had to be undetected because I just ran through the place like a maniac. Looking back at it, I probably just should have killed the guards and forfeit the bonus, because the ending of this assassination was just the worst. There were a bunch of guards, they were teaming up on me, and once I actually killed Valen Dreth, I forgot the key needed to leave the prison, and I had to run all the way back down with no health. It was horrible. But I lived, and now all the Imperial City guards have the clap, so joke's on them. Back to Vicente, I got my reward in gold and the Scales of Pitiless Justice, which increased my strength, agility, and intelligence by 2 points, while damaging my personality by 2 points. A fair trade, since nobody likes me anyway. The next Dark Brotherhood quest wasn't an actual assassination. I was to pretend assassinate a man with a special poison dagger that made it seem like he was dead, so that the other assassin coming to kill him wouldn't kill him. Make sense? No? Good. Moving on. This quest is actually surprisingly easy. I go to this guy Francois's house, have a nice conversation with him, and wait for the other assassin to enter the abode. After that, I stab Francois, run away from the other assassin, and make my way to his family's chapel Undercroft the next day. After that, I take him to the nearby inn while avoiding his undead aunts and uncles, and possibly cousins, and just like that, we're done. One last time back to Vicente, and I get some gold for my troubles, and the Cruelty's Heart amulet, which I would keep for quite some time. Now it was time to continue with the main quest. I went to the Arcane University and found Tarmina and asked her about the Mythic Dawn cult. She handed me the second volume of Mankar Cameron's Commentaries on the Mythic Dawn, which would go very well with my first volume that I got from the agent Boris and I killed. The key to finding the Mythic Dawn lay in the third and fourth volumes of the commentaries, which were much harder to find. Tarmina suggested I look at the local bookstore to see if I could find either of them. Funnily enough, the man who owned the bookstore had a copy of the third volume that he was not willing to part with, as somebody else had already placed it in order. Now, normally I could just wait for this guy to arrive, inform him he's an idiot for joining the Mythic Dawn cult, and then he'll give me the book. But this time around, I bribed Fintius to sell me the book because I didn't know you could do that. I still had to talk to the man who was going to buy the book so he could tell me how to get the fourth volume. Apparently, the only way to get it was to set up a meeting with a high-ranking member of the Mythic Dawn, and he said I could take his place in said meeting because he no longer wanted anything to do with them. I also took this time to go to a nearby inn and sleep to level up to 7. After that, I returned to Boris, informed him of the plan, and he said he knew that area of the sewers well, which is admittedly kind of weird, but I'm not exactly in a position to judge. I told him to lead on. It was a slow jaunt through the sewers fighting rats and mudcrabs, but the difficult part didn't come until we hit the end, where we were to meet the Mythic Dawn sponsor. In a normal playthrough, this part never really poses a problem, and if you're a normal person, unlike me, it will almost never pose a problem. For me, keeping Boris alive is a must. I always feel incredibly bad when he dies, and I am not sure why. So whenever this part comes up, I always have to give it 110% and think outside the box. That's why prior to this, I equipped him with Daedric armor, and you'd think wearing some of the best armor in the entire game would keep him alive, but you'd be wrong. I feel as if it's Boris's destiny to die, and I just can't let that happen. So I tried over and over and over again. Sometimes Boris would meet with a sponsor, sometimes I would meet with a sponsor. What eventually worked was me meeting with the sponsor, immediately getting out of my seat, and beating the crap out of him before he could put his armor on. With the fourth volume in our hands, we could now take all the books to Tarmina to see what she could glean from them. After waiting 2 24-hour stretches, she finally figured out that the first letter of each paragraph put together tells us the location of the location. That's right, it doesn't actually tell you where the Mythic Dawn is, it just tells you where to find the map that shows you where the Mythic Dawn is. I made sure to stock up on plenty of potions before I left. The cave wasn't too far from Shadenhall, so I traveled there and made the short walk. Normally when you enter the cave, you're supposed to give up all of your mortal belongings because it's a cult, but we don't do things like that around here. I went in hose a-swinging, and honestly, it was way easier than I thought. Everyone was dying, I had more than enough potions to make sure I stayed alive, and I was even able to grab the Mysterium Xerxes after Mankar Cameron left for his paradise with the Amulet of Kings. Everything was great, until I entered the next room. These stupid idiots would not stop running away from me, and while they were running, they would pass by more of their friends, and then they would start to attack me. I died many more times than I will admit, but just know that it was not in vain. Now we had the Xerxes, and Martin might be able to figure a way into Mankar Cameron's paradise so we could get the Amulet of Kings back. But first, I had to level up, do a couple of Dark Brotherhood quests, and help Joffrey with a spy problem in Bruma. Apparently there have been sightings of some odd fellows down by the Doomstone at the base of Cloud Ruler, and the Blades literally can't send one member down to take care of it, so it falls onto me. Instead of going to Bruma and asking around town if anything suspicious was happening, my syphilis-saddled brain decided that we were immediately going to go to the Doomstone and see what was what. Gerald with a mace, that's what. After a fairly easy victory, I grabbed Gerald's key and went to see the captain of the guard, Bird, for permission to enter Gerald's house. Inside I found some culty stuff and Gerald's orders and plans for the Mythic Dawn to open a great Oblivion gate in Bruma. I took the plans back to Big J, and he was worried, but more worried about the fact that I didn't kill both spies. With the last spy dead, I returned to Joffrey once again, and he thanked me and told me Martin made some progress on the Xerxes. Apparently, the first of 4 items I would need was a Daedric artifact. Normally the game nudges you into grabbing Azura's Star for this part, but I went with Nocturnal's quest since it was really easy. Except for the trolls. No one likes a troll. Once I had the skeleton key in hand, I returned to Martin and gave it to him, fully knowing that once I gave it to him, I would never be able to use it again. Now I had to wait for Martin to decipher more of the Xerxes, and what better way to wait than by closing an Oblivion gate in the outskirts of Bruma. I can think of many things, but I have to close it, so let's get this over with. The only good thing about doing any Oblivion gate for this challenge, or any challenge for that matter, is that you can find incredibly good equipment, and when you're done you can get a Sigil Stone to enchant your armor with. I also had Captain Bird and a few Bruma guards with me for this one, so it wasn't the worst thing ever. Once I reached the top of the main tower, I grabbed the Sigil Stone and took a look at it. It fortified my speed, which was nice, but not the best enchantment I could have got. And yes, I know that you can say before you grab the stone and manipulate the enchantment that comes out in it, but please, I'm a classy hoe. Hey Joffrey, I'm done closing that Oblivion gate. Oh, that's great news. Want to do that like 6 more times? No. No, I don't. But I will so I can level up and get better gear. Before I decided to get some extra help for Bruma, I made sure to do some more Dark Brotherhood quests, 2 of which are some of my favorite in Oblivion, and then I made my way back to Shadenhall to speak to the Count about sending some help for Bruma when the time came. Now's the time when I'm going to start fast forwarding through a lot of this stuff because it's more or less the same thing. Go to the Count of a city, ask for help for Bruma, get denied help because they have an open Oblivion gate of their own, go inside of the Oblivion gate to get loot and close it, inform them that the gate is closed, and get some help for Bruma in every single city. Except for the Imperial City, because Okato is a dickbag. Now, I will have you know that I didn't just run through the majority of these gates, I actually spent time killing the Daedra inside, hoping to get some good rings. By the end of it all, I'd spread my diseases far and wide, and I was fully decked out in bling. I also contracted a disease while out and about called Astral Vapors. It stunts my magicka, which means I can't regenerate it. It also makes me 25% weaker to all magicka, so that's just fantastic. Now that I was done getting the Bruma garrison in order, I could return to Joffrey and start the next quest. I needed to get the blood of a god, and to do that I would have to go to Sancretor and get the armor of Tiber Septim, which has some of his blood in it apparently. Once I arrived outside, I immediately knew I was in for trouble. A lich. They're quite dangerous even when normally playing Oblivion, and that can't be a harbinger of good things to come, especially since I am now weak to magicka. Inside of Sancretor, I was tasked with killing the 4 corrupt spirits of the blades who served here so they could help me open the way to the armor, and oh boy, hold on to your hats. Did you know that in Oblivion you can only attack ghosts with certain weapons, like a silver weapon or an enchanted weapon? Did you also know that the Ho's secret disease-bearing effect isn't a real enchantment? Did you also know that there are so many freaking ghosts and wraiths in Sancretor it isn't even funny? I can't state enough how horrible this was. Not only did I have to kill a skeletal blade that was pretty strong, I had to withstand ghosts constantly attacking me with magic, which I am weak to. I eventually killed this one blade by sheer willpower and ran to the next one as fast as I could, all the while avoiding ghosts who were trying to break my frail, diseased body. Oh, I made it to the next blade. I made it there through sheer passion. But at what cost? Thankfully, there weren't too many ghosts around to help this one, and he fell swiftly enough. The next one, though. Oh, this guy. He had an enchanted blade that does frost damage, and I no longer had any potions to help me out. So I ran away, and kept running, and running, and running. I stopped at the inn after my failure to level up to 19, and these are my current stats, but remember, most of them are 15 to 20 points lower due to my diseases. I stocked back up on a few potions before deciding that I needed to adventure some more before I went back to Sancretor. Yeah, I'm not sure why either, since after doing one of these gates, you never want to see another one until your next playthrough. I also did the Leywin Mages Guild quest, which would mark Fort Blue Blood on my map so I could pilfer it. I did this because when I was a kid, my old man would always come here for the good loot, and not gonna lie, it always seems to work. Once I was done, I walked away with some nice weapons to sell and a full set of ebony armor. I didn't wear almost any of the ebony armor because I had shield enchantments on my current armor, which made it superior in every way. With the loot I got from the fort, I bought as many potions as I could feasibly fit in my armor and made my way back to Sancretor. Now is when the game starts to break on me. What's that off in the distance? One of the blades I'm supposed to kill, but he's really far away from the fort because he actually chased me out of it. Lord have mercy. At least it was just him, so the fight wasn't the worst thing ever. But killing him here broke my game. More on that later. Inside of the fort again, I ran until I found the last blade I needed to kill, and just a look at that. How is anyone expected to be able to do that? If I didn't have every single last one of the potions I did, I would have died or had to leave to get more. I literally used every single potion. No, that's great. I didn't just spend nearly 10,000 gold on them. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. Stupid game. Let's just go and get the armor. Wait. Where the hell is the 4th guy? Oh no. No. What are you doing out here? Get inside and open this goddamn door, you sack of ectoplasm. Yeah, he wouldn't. Like, actually just wouldn't go inside. What I ended up having to do is move him into the area via console command, but I'm usually pretty okay with console commands when they're used to fix the game. With that, I could finally grab the armor and get the hell out of here and back to Martin. The next item we needed to open the portal to Paradise was a Great Welkian Stone, which could be found at one of the last Great Ayleid cities. Yeah, sure, literally anything is better than what I just did. The ruins were home to goblins, skeletons, and zombies. Not just any zombies, dread zombies. They regenerate health as fast as I damage them, so I actually cannot kill them. I'm starting to regret leveling up like crazy, but that's how I like to play the game. Great Welkian Stone done. The last object we needed was a Great Sigil Stone, and the only way to get one of those is by shutting a Great Oblivion Gate, which means we have to let the attack on Bruma commence. I was pretty confident with the militia we had gathered and thought this would be a pretty easy fight. For them at least. I didn't do diddly squat, but it came at a cost. Boris, you will always be remembered. I didn't loot his body either, because that would be cheating. Not that I needed it, the Daedra was spawning in with the stuff anyways. When the Great Gate finally opened, I went in and didn't even stop to say hello to any of the wonderful Daedra in my path. I was not going to be able to make a dent in them with my hoe, and I knew that. All in all, it was just like a normal Oblivion Gate, except it was timed because of the siege beast that was going to burst out in like 12 minutes. I grabbed the stone with plenty of time to spare, made like a banana, and split. There was now one last objective we had to do. I had to go into Mankar Cameron's paradise and get the Amulet of Kings back so we could stop Mehrunes Dagon's assault on Tamriel. By the way, I was now an absolute physical tank. I had wisened up and finally used protection for the first time in my life, netting 85 armor, which is the max amount you can have. So physical fighting would be a cinch for me. Too bad everyone in paradise uses magic, and I was still suffering from a bad case of the supernatural vapors. I eventually ran into a Daedra that would either help me in my fight or duel me for the key to enter the next area. Since I don't take help from lesser Daedra, I dueled him in one rather easily. Also, in case you were wondering, my hoe does 9 damage. I should be doing mid-20s in base damage at this point in the game, with some kick-ass enchantments to boot. But what do you expect from a man whose life expectancy is measured in days? The next portion is incredibly boring, and consists of me running away from everything to conserve my potions for the big fight coming up. Finally, I made it to Mankar Cameron's place and killed both of his children outside, which was actually a smart move, even though they come back to life after a while, as I was able to pick up a mundane ring, which boasts a staggering 50% resistance to magic attacks and 35% spell reflection. This would be very helpful. I was now prepared. It was time to kill Mankar Cameron. I didn't even let him finish his speech. I just started raining down a flurry of blows with my hoe. And you know what? This is easy. I got him in a corner and he can do nothing about it. Joe the hoe is gonna blow this man to the 5th dimension. Oh wait. He healed to full health. Well, he probably can't do it again. 3rd time's the charm? Oh sweet Jesus, I can't kill him. I actually can't kill him. He for some reason was not running out of magic anytime soon, and eventually my hoe actually broke mid-battle. You can't repair weapons or armor mid-battle. Maybe if I was a lower level I could. Maybe if I had a slightly higher strength and blunt skill I could. But how I was right now? Not happening. So no, you cannot beat Oblivion as a dirty hoe. Or at least, I can't. Either way, let's finish this. I lowered the difficulty a hair and killed him in about 10 seconds. I didn't even lower it that much. Whatever, let's just get the amulet back to Martin. With the Amulet of Kings in Martin's possession, he could now go to the Temple of the One in the Imperial City and light the Dragonfires to stop the invasion, but things can never be that easy, can they? Mehrunes Dagon had broken the seal between Oblivion and Tamriel and could now take shape as a physical avatar. Pretty cool, but not good for us. Luckily, Martin has a bit of a martyr complex and decided to sacrifice himself by shattering the amulet and turning into the avatar of Akatosh. Not exactly sure how that's supposed to work, but oh well, at least it did. Tamriel was safe once again, and with that, I did not beat Oblivion as a dirty hoe, but I imagine if I gave it another try, I could. This challenge was actually a lot harder than I made it sound. Having most of your attributes lowered by that much at the start of the game is horrible, and having a low agility most of the game meant that I was very easy to knock down and stagger. It also seemed like the hoe didn't really do anything special, but it's still a really cool and fun weapon to use. If you enjoyed today's video, like and subscribe as that helps me out bunches. Also, if you like this challenge, be sure to check out some of my other ones, as I'm sure you'll like those too. Come on over to the Discord and Patreon, or both, I'll leave links in the description. Special thanks to my patrons Riley Anderson, Jamie East, Untamed Pineapple, and Braden Watson. Y'all are the best. And until next time, stay safe out there, and peace out.